Captain Day-Ho stood on the bridge of the research vessel Harmony's Edge, watching the stars through the large window. His hands shook as he held the datapad that contained their last hope. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. Everyone knew they were running out of time. The Korath swarm had already destroyed 3 colonies in the outer systems. These creatures were like nothing the Vellani Confederacy had ever faced before. They came in massive black ships that looked like giant insects. They ate everything in their path and left nothing but empty worlds behind. "Captain," said Lieutenant Yerim from her communication station, "we're receiving another distress call from New Celestia. The Korath forces have broken through their outer defenses." Day-Ho closed his eyes. New Celestia was home to 12 million. Vellani. It was the 4th largest colony in their space. If it fell, the Korath would have a clear path to their homeworld. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Our analysts think maybe 2 weeks before they reach Celestia Prime," Yerim replied. Her voice was calm, but Day-Ho could see the fear in her eyes. The Vellani had always been a peaceful people. For over 800 years, they had focused on science, art, and exploration. Their military was small and designed mainly to protect ships from space pirates or help with disasters. They had never fought a real war. When the Korath first appeared 6 months ago, the Vellani leaders thought they could negotiate. They sent diplomats with offers of trade and friendship. The Korath response was simple. They destroyed the diplomatic ship and everyone on board. Then they started eating planets. Day-Ho walked to the ancient computer terminal in the corner of the bridge. This old machine contained databases from the early days of Vellani space exploration. Most of the information was thousands of years old, from when their ancestors first traveled between stars. "Sir, are you sure about this?" asked Dr. Na Young, the ship's historian. She had been working with Day-Ho to search through the old records. Some of these entries are from civilizations that might not even exist anymore. "We don't have any other choice," Day-Ho said. He activated the ancient terminal and called up the file they had found 3 days ago. It was labeled Military Assets, Emergency Contact Protocol. The file was damaged and incomplete. Large parts of it were impossible to read, but what they could understand was clear. It was a list of species across the galaxy that could provide military help in extreme situations. Most of the entries were for civilizations the Vellani had never heard of. Here, Day-Ho pointed to one entry. Humanity, Sol System, Classification, Available for Hire, Military Strength, Moderate, Technology Level, Developing, Warning, Use Caution, when engaging. The warning part was mostly corrupted, so they couldn't read all of it. But it seemed like standard advice about dealing with unknown species. "The coordinates are still good," said Navigation Officer Hyuk Jun. "The Sol system is about 47 light-years from here. That's at the edge of our long-range communication array." Dr. Na Young looked worried. "Captain, we know nothing about these humans. What if they're hostile? What if they're worse than the Korath?" Day-Ho stared at the entry. According to the database, humanity was a single-planet species with moderate military capability. They seemed to be mercenaries who worked for payment. The Vellani could offer them resources, technology, or trade agreements. "Look at our options," Day-Ho said. "The other entries in this database are either too far away or the civilizations are marked as extinct. The Korath will reach our homeworld in 2 weeks. We need help now." Lieutenant Yerim checked her station. "Sir, I have the long-range transmitter ready. Should I open a channel to this Sol system?" Day-Ho took a deep breath. As captain of a research vessel, he had never expected to make military decisions. but the Confederacy's war fleet had been destroyed in the first Korath attack. Most of their experienced commanders were dead. The surviving ships were scattered and trying to evacuate civilians. "Do it," he said. The communication array powered up with a low humming sound. On the main screen, they could see the massive dish turning to point toward the Sol system. The signal would take several hours to reach its destination, even at faster-than-light communication speeds. "I'm transmitting on all standard frequencies," Yerim reported. "Universal Translator is active. The message should be understandable to any species with basic technology." Deho walked to the captain's chair and sat down. He activated the ship's recording system and began to speak. "This is Captain Deho of the Villani Confederacy research vessel Harmony's Edge. We are sending this message to request immediate military assistance. Our civilization is under attack by a hostile force known as the Korath Swarm. They have already destroyed 4 of our colony worlds and killed millions of our people." He paused, trying to find the right words. "How do you ask strangers to die? For your people? We understand that you may require payment for your services. The Villani Confederacy can offer advanced technology, rare minerals, or favorable trade agreements. We are not a wealthy people, but we will give whatever we can." The bridge was completely silent, except for the hum of the communication array. The Korath forces are approximately 2 weeks away from our homeworld of Celestia Prime. We have 12 billion civilians who cannot be evacuated in time. Any military assistance you can provide would save countless lives. We are transmitting our coordinates and technical data about the enemy forces. Deho looked around at his crew. They were all young scientists and researchers. None of them had signed up to fight a war, but they were the only ones in position to make this call. "Please," he continued, "if there is any way you can help us. We are desperate. Our defense forces have been destroyed. We have nowhere else to turn. This may be the last communication from our people if no help arrives." He ended the recording and nodded to Yerim. She transmitted the message along with all their data about the Korath. Ship designs, weapon capabilities, attack patterns, everything they had learned in 6 months of losing battles. "Message sent, Captain," she reported. "Estimated arrival time at Sol system, 4 hours and 16 minutes. Now they could only wait and hope. Deho stared out at the stars and wondered what these humans were like. According to the database, they were a developing species with moderate military strength. He hoped that would be enough. He had no idea that he had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. But it would turn out to be the best mistake anyone had ever made. Admiral Hyun-woo was drinking his morning coffee when the alert came through. The sound of the emergency communications system echoed through his office at Stellar Defense Command Headquarters on Luna Station. He set down his cup and activated his desk terminal. "Sir," came the voice of Communications Officer Jang Mi. "We're receiving an unknown signal on the deep space array. It's definitely alien, and the computer says it's a distress call." Hyun-woo felt his heart speed up. In his 30 years of military service, Earth had never received a communication from another intelligent species. There had been theories and hopes, but no real contact. "Patch it through to my office immediately," he ordered, "and get Dr. So-jin down here right away." Dr. So-jin was Earth's leading expert on language and communication. She had spent her career developing translation protocols for the day when humanity might encounter alien life. That day had finally come. Within minutes, Dr. So-jin arrived with her team of linguists and computer specialists. They connected their translation systems to the incoming signal and began working on decoding the message. The signal is incredibly complex, Dr. So-Jin explained as her computers processed the data. But there are mathematical patterns we recognize, and they're using some kind of universal translation protocol, very sophisticated. Admiral Hyunwoo paced behind them as they worked. Outside the windows of Luna Station, he could see Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel. Soon, they might not be alone in the universe anymore. "Got it," Dr. So-Jin announced after 20 minutes of intense work. "Admiral, you need to hear this." The voice that came through the speakers was clearly alien, but the translation made it understandable. Admiral Hyun-woo listened with growing amazement as Captain Daeho's message played. An alien civilization was asking humanity for military help. When the message ended, the room was silent for a long moment. "My God," whispered Dr. So-Jin. "They're really out there, and they're in trouble." Admiral Hyun-woo's military mind was already working. "What do we know about their situation?" Dr. So-Jin's team had been analyzing the technical data that came with the message. According to their files, this Korath swarm has already destroyed multiple worlds. The aliens, they call themselves Vallani, seem to be peaceful people who aren't prepared for war. "And they think we can help them," Hyunwoo said. He was already reaching for his secure communication link to Earth's government. "Get me the Secretary of Defense immediately." Within an hour, Admiral Hyunwoo was in a video conference with the highest levels of Earth's government. The President, the Secretary of Defense, and the heads of all major space colonies were listening as he explained the situation. "So let me understand this," said the President. "Aliens have contacted us asking for military assistance against some kind of invasion force?" "That's correct, sir," Hyunwoo replied. "From their data, this Korath swarm appears to be a serious threat. They've already destroyed 4 alien worlds and are heading for the Vallani homeworld." Secretary of Defense Park Tae-sung leaned forward. "What kind of military assistance do you think they're expecting?" "Based on their message, probably a few hundred mercenaries or maybe a small fleet," Hyunwoo said. "They mentioned payment and seem to think we're a species that hires out military services." Commander Min-ho, who had been analyzing the alien data, spoke up from his station. "Sir, I've been looking at their technical specifications. These Vallani have impressive technology in some areas, but their military capabilities are very limited. They're basically defenseless against this Korath threat." The President was quiet for a moment. "Admiral, what's your recommendation?" Admiral Hyunwoo had been thinking about this since the message arrived. "Sir, this is first contact with an alien civilization. They're asking for our help. If we can save them, we'll not only be doing the right thing, we'll be making humanity's first alien allies." "But what can we realistically do?" asked the Secretary of Defense. "It's 47 light years away. Even our fastest ships would take weeks to get there." "Actually, sir," Commander Min-ho interrupted, "our new hyperspace drive systems could get a fleet there in 6 days. The real question is how big a fleet to send." Admiral Hyunwoo pulled up star charts on his screen. "Based on the alien data, we're looking at a major military threat. This isn't a job for a few ships. We need to send enough force to completely eliminate this Korath swarm." The President nodded slowly. "Admiral, I'm authorizing you to coordinate a military response, but I want this done right. We're not just helping aliens. We're representing all of humanity. What do you need?" "I need to contact Fleet Admiral Tae-kyung and Admiral Ji-hoon," Hyunwoo replied. "We'll need ships from all the major fleets. This has to be a united human response." Over the next few hours, Admiral Hyunwoo found himself coordinating the largest military operation in human history. The call went out across all human space. From Earth to the outer colonies, from Mars to the mining stations in the asteroid belt, from the agricultural worlds to the industrial complexes around Jupiter. Fleet Admiral Tai Kyung was commanding the 3rd Battle Group near Proxima Centauri. Hyunwoo, are you serious? Actual aliens asking for help? Dead serious, Tai Kyung. How many ships can you contribute? I can have 87 warships ready to move in 12 hours, Tai Kyung replied. But are we sure about this? What if it's a trap? Admiral Ji-hoon was more enthusiastic. This is the chance of a lifetime. If we can save an alien civilization, imagine what it could mean for humanity's future. I can contribute 130 ships from the 7th Fleet. As the hours passed, reports came in from across human space. Colony worlds were contributing their defense fleets. The Navy was pulling ships from patrol duties. Even civilian cargo vessels were being converted to carry supplies and support equipment. Dr. So-jin worked with her team to prepare a response message to the Volani. Admiral, what should we tell them? Hyunwoo thought for a moment. The aliens were expecting a small mercenary force. They had no idea what they had actually asked for. Keep it simple, he said. Tell them that humanity has received their message and that a fleet is being assembled to provide assistance. Give them our estimated arrival time. Dr. So-jin nodded and began preparing the transmission. Should we mention how many ships we're sending? No, Hyunwoo replied. Let it be a surprise. The response message was brief and professional. Message received. Fleet en route. ETA. 6 standard cycles. As Dr. So-jin transmitted the message, Admiral Hyunwoo looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an alien species was fighting for survival. Soon, they would learn what it meant to have humanity as an ally. What the aliens didn't know was that they hadn't just asked one planet for help. They had contacted an entire interstellar civilization, and humanity was coming with everything they had. Lieutenant Ye Rim was working the night shift on the communication station when the response came through. The soft beeping of the incoming message woke her from the light doze she had fallen into. After 6 months of constant stress, everyone, on the Harmony's edge, was exhausted. Captain Daeho to the bridge immediately, she announced over the ship's communication system. Her voice was excited for the first time in weeks. Captain Daeho arrived within minutes, still putting on his uniform jacket. What is it, Lieutenant? Sir, we got a response from the humans, Yerim said with a smile. They're sending help. The bridge crew gathered around as Yerim played the translated message. The voice was different from their own, deeper and with strange sounds, but the translation was clear. Message received. Fleet en route. ETA. 6 standard cycles. Captain Daeho felt relief wash over him like a cool wave. They're actually coming. 6 days. We can hold out for 6 days. Dr. Na Young looked up from her research station. Captain, I've been analyzing their response signal. These humans have impressive communication technology, much more advanced than our database suggested. That's good news, Daeho replied. Better equipment means better soldiers. He activated the ship's internal communication system to address his crew. Attention all hands. We have received confirmation that military assistance is coming from the human species. A fleet will arrive in 6 standard days. Pass this information to the Confederacy Council immediately. The news spread through Volani space faster than their ships could travel. On every surviving world, people celebrated. The mysterious humans were coming to help them fight the Korath swarm. On Celestia Prime, Elder Bomsuk called an emergency meeting of the Confederacy Council. The surviving leaders gathered in the great dome that had served as their government center for hundreds of years. "Fellow council members," Elder Bomsuk began, "we have hope at last. The human species has agreed to provide military assistance against the Korath threat." Counselor Heejin raised her hand. "Elder Bomsuk, what do we know about these humans? Can we trust them?" "According to our ancient database, they are a developing species with moderate military capability," Bomsuk replied. "They appear to be mercenaries who work for payment. We have already prepared a generous offer of technology and resources." Defense Coordinator Wanbin looked worried. "What if their moderate military capability isn't enough? The Korath have destroyed our entire war fleet." Elder Bomsuk nodded. "That is a risk we must take. But even a few hundred human soldiers with advanced weapons could make a difference, and perhaps they can provide strategic advice or help us evacuate more civilians." Meanwhile, across human space, the largest military mobilization in history was taking place. On Luna Station, Admiral Hyunwoo coordinated with commanders from dozens of different fleets and colonies. Fleet Admiral Won-sik was assembling the main battle group near Earth. "Hyunwoo, I've got 423 heavy warships ready to move. The carriers are loading fighter squadrons now. Admiral Ji-hoon is bringing another 300 ships from the outer colonies," Hyunwoo replied. "And we're getting support vessels from every human world. This is going to be the largest fleet we've ever assembled." Dr. Yunji, Earth's top military strategist, had been analyzing the alien data about the Korath swarm. "Admiral, based on the information from the Volani, this enemy is extremely dangerous. They've destroyed multiple planets and seem to have overwhelming numbers." "What's your assessment?" Hyunwoo asked. "I think we're dealing with a galaxy-level threat," Dr. Yunji replied. "If these Korath can destroy entire civilizations, they could threaten human space eventually. We need to stop them now." Admiral Hyunwoo nodded. "That's why we're not taking any chances. We're sending everything we can." Across the human colonies, military commanders were having similar conversations. On Mars, General Subin was loading ground forces onto transport ships. If the Korath are as dangerous as they sound, we might need to fight them on planets as well as in space. Commander Yu Jin was coordinating supply ships from the asteroid mining stations. "We're bringing enough ammunition and fuel to fight a major war. Whatever these aliens are facing, we'll be ready for it." Captain Kyung-min was preparing the advanced scout fleet. His fast ships would arrive first to assess the situation. "Admiral, my scouts will reach Volani space 12 hours before the main fleet. We'll provide intelligence and coordinate with the aliens." Back in Volani space, Lieutenant Yerim was monitoring long-range sensors from the Harmony's edge. The Korath advance forces were getting closer to their homeworld, but there was still no sign of the human fleet. "Captain," she reported, "the Korath scouts are now only 8 light hours away from Celestia Prime. They're moving faster than we expected." Captain Dae-ho studied the tactical display. "Can we hold them off for 2 more days until the humans arrive?" Navigation Officer Hyuk-jun shook his head. "Sir, we only have 6 defense platforms left around Celestia Prime, and 3 patrol ships. The Korath have hundreds of vessels." Dr. Ne-young looked up from her research station with excitement. "Captain, I found something important in the database. The entry about humans. There's more data that was hidden by damage to the files." "What kind of data?" Dae-ho asked. "Warning codes," Na-young replied. "The original entry wasn't just use, caution when engaging. The full warning says, extreme caution, Warrior Species Classification, Apex Predator. The bridge went quiet. Captain Day-Ho stared at the new information. Apex Predator? Lieutenant Ye-Rim asked. What does that mean? Dr. Na-Young was still reading. According to the classification system, it means they're the most dangerous type of species in the galaxy, the kind that destroys other civilizations for resources or territory. Captain Day-Ho felt his stomach drop. Are we sure about this translation? I've checked it 3 times, Na-Young replied. Captain, I think we may have made a terrible mistake. We didn't hire mercenaries. We invited apex predators into our space. As if responding to his thoughts, Lieutenant Ye-Rim's station began beeping with a new message from the humans. What now? Day-Ho asked. Ye-Rim's face went pale as she read the translated message. Sir, it's from someone called Fleet Admiral Wansik. He says the main human battle group is approaching our space. He's requesting permission to enter our system with... She paused and read the number again. With what? Day-Ho demanded. With 2,847 warships. The bridge was completely silent. Captain Day-Ho stared at the message, unable to believe what he was hearing. That's impossible, Dr. Na-Young whispered. No species has that many warships. That's larger than every fleet in the galaxy combined. But Lieutenant Ye-Rim was already receiving more messages. Requests for landing coordinates, supply requirements, battle plans, all from different human commanders with names she couldn't pronounce. Captain Day-Ho realized that their call for help had been answered in ways they never imagined. The question now was whether humanity was coming to save them or conquer them. Captain Kyung-min's scout ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Volani territory like silent ghosts. The Swift Current and her sister ships were humanity's fastest vessels, designed for stealth reconnaissance and first contact situations. All stop, Kyung-min ordered. Begin passive scans of the system. Lieutenant Park So-young, his sensor officer, worked at her station with practiced efficiency. Captain, I'm detecting multiple artificial structures, space stations, orbital, platforms, and... Wow. What is it? Kyung-min asked. Sir, I count at least 40 different types of alien technology. These Volani have been busy, but I'm also detecting massive energy signatures heading this way. Those must be the Korath forces. Captain Kyung-min studied the tactical display. The Korath fleet was enormous, hundreds of dark ships moving in perfect formation toward the Volani homeworld. But what caught his attention were the alien structures around the planet. They're beautiful, whispered Navigation Officer Kim Jun-ho, looking at the scans of Celestia Prime. The planet was covered in elegant spires and floating cities that gleamed like jewels in the sunlight. And completely defenseless, added So-young, grimly. I'm only detecting 6 small patrol ships and some orbital defense platforms, nothing that could stop this Korath fleet. Captain Kyung-min activated his communication system. All ships, maintain stealth protocols. We observe and gather intelligence first. Then we make contact. He opened a channel to the human fleet following behind them. Admiral Hyun-woo, this is Captain Kyung-min reporting from Volani space. The situation is worse than we expected. The aliens have beautiful cities, but almost no military defenses. The Korath fleet will reach them in less than 18 hours. Back on the Harmony's edge, Captain Day-Ho was trying to coordinate the evacuation of orbital research stations when Lieutenant Ye-Rim suddenly looked up from her sensor station. Captain, I'm detecting new ships entering our system. Unknown configuration. Captain, Day-Ho felt his heart race. Korath? No, sir, Ye-Rim replied, studying her readings carefully. These ships are much smaller and moving differently. I think they might be the humans. Dr. Na Young joined them at the sensor station. Can you get a visual? It took several minutes of careful scanning, but finally they managed to get a clear image of one of the human ships. The bridge crew stared in amazement at the sleek vessel on their main screen. That's not what I expected, Captain Deho said, quietly. The human ship looked nothing like the crude vessels he had imagined. It was elegant and clearly advanced, with technology that seemed equal to or better than their own. Sir, Lieutenant Yerim announced. They're hailing us. Captain Deho straightened his uniform and activated the communication system. This is Captain Deho of the Villani research vessel Harmony's Edge. Please identify yourself. The response came in clear translated Villani. Captain Deho, this is Captain Kyung-min of the Earth vessel Swift Current. We received your request for assistance. Permission to approach? Permission granted, Deho replied, though his voice shook slightly. This was it. First contact with an alien species. Captain Kyung-min's ship approached slowly, making no threatening moves. When it was close enough for detailed scans, both crews studied each other's technology with fascination. Captain Deho, came Kyung-min's voice again. We need to establish direct communication to coordinate our response to the Korath threat. Would you be willing to receive a small diplomatic party aboard your vessel? Captain Deho looked around, his bridge. Dr. Nayung nodded encouragingly, though she still looked nervous about the ancient warnings they had found. Yes, Captain Kyung-min, we welcome your representatives. 20 minutes later, Captain Deho stood in his ship's small docking bay waiting for the first humans he had ever seen. The alien shuttle was surprisingly small and quiet as it landed in their bay. The airlock opened, and General Subin stepped out, followed by two other humans and a floating device that was obviously a translator. Captain Deho was surprised by how similar they looked to his own people. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, though their skin color and facial features were different. Captain Deho, General Subin said, bowing slightly in what seemed to be a gesture of respect. I am General Subin of the Human Defense Forces. Thank you for allowing us aboard your ship. Captain Deho returned the bow. General Subin, welcome aboard the Harmony's Edge. We are grateful beyond words that you answered our call for help. They walked together to the ship's main conference room, where Dr. Na Young and the senior crew were waiting. General Subin sat down across from Captain Deho and activated a holographic display. Captain, we need to discuss the tactical situation, Subin began. Our scout ships have analyzed the approaching Korath fleet. You're facing approximately 800 enemy vessels, including several very large ships that appear to be planet killers. Captain Deho felt sick. 800 ships? Our database said they had maybe 200. They've been growing, Subin replied grimly. That's what they do. They consume worlds and build more ships. But don't worry. We're prepared for this. Dr. Na Young leaned forward. General Subin, may I ask how many ships you brought to help us? General Subin smiled for the first time since boarding their ship. Dr. Na Young, the main human fleet will arrive in 4 hours. We're bringing 2,847 warships. The Villani crew stared at him in shock. Lieutenant Yerim whispered, That's impossible. No species has that many ships. We do, Subin replied simply. Captain Deho, you didn't just contact one world when you sent that message. You contacted all of human space, every colony, every fleet, every world we've settled. When humanity decides to help someone, we don't do it halfway. Captain Deho struggled to understand. But our database said you were a single planet, species with moderate military capability. General Subin laughed. Your database is very old, Captain. 3,000 years ago, that might have been true. Today, humanity controls 412 star systems. We've been exploring and expanding for a long time. Dr. Na Young asked the question that was worrying all of them. General, what do you want in return for this help? Subin looked confused. Want in return? Captain Deho, you asked for help. Against an enemy that destroys entire civilizations. We're here to stop them. What more reason do we need? But surely you want payment, Captain Deho insisted. Technology, resources, territory. The only thing we want, General Subin said seriously, is your friendship. And maybe the chance to learn about your amazing culture. Do you have any idea how excited our scientists are about meeting you? The Villani crew exchanged glances. This was not what they had expected from apex predators. Lieutenant Yerim's station beeped with an incoming message. Captain, I'm detecting massive hyperspace signatures. Something very large is approaching our system. General Subin checked his own communication device. That would be Fleet Admiral Wansik with the main battle group. Captain Deho, you're about to see something that no alien species has ever witnessed before. What's that? Deho asked. The full military might of humanity when we're defending our friends, Subin replied. I suggest you move your ship to a safe distance. Things are about to get very interesting. Captain Deho looked out the window at the peaceful stars of his home system. In a few hours, this quiet space would become the largest battlefield in galactic history. But for the first time in months, he felt hope. The humans weren't apex predators coming to conquer them. They were protectors coming to save them. And they were bringing the largest fleet ever assembled to do it. The space around Celestia Prime had been quiet for thousands of years. The Villani were peaceful people who built their civilization on science and art, not war. Their home system had never seen more than a few dozen ships at once. That was about to change in a way no one could have imagined. Admiral Hayen stood on the bridge of the Villani Defense Station Peaceful Watch, staring at her sensor displays in complete disbelief. She was the highest-ranking military officer left alive in the Confederacy, though her experience was limited to rescue operations and anti-piracy patrols. Ma'am, reported sensor operator Dalho, his voice shaking. The hyperspace readings are off the scale. Whatever's coming is massive. Admiral Hayen tried to stay calm for her crew, but inside she was terrified. The ancient warnings about humans had been shared throughout the Confederacy leadership. Stories of apex predators who destroyed civilizations, and now they were arriving in overwhelming numbers. All civilian traffic, clear the shipping lanes. Immediately, she ordered. Emergency evacuation protocols are now in effect. On the surface of Celestia Prime, President Wu Jin stood in the government emergency bunker, watching the live feeds from orbit. Around him, the surviving members of the Confederacy Council waited in nervous silence. President, said Communications Director Ye Jin, Captain Deho reports that the human representatives seem friendly, but the numbers, sir, they're bringing nearly 3,000 warships. President Wu Jin closed his eyes. Either they were about to be saved, or they were about to be conquered by the most powerful military force in galactic history. In space, reality began to tear. The first ships emerged from hyperspace like metal mountains appearing from nothing. Fleet Admiral Wansik's flagship, the Indomitable Will, was a kilometer-long battleship bristling with weapons that the Villani couldn't even identify, but it was just the beginning. Behind the flagship came cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and support ships. They emerged in perfect formation, each ship finding its assigned position with military precision. The Volani watched in awe and terror as their peaceful star system filled with alien warships. Admiral Hay-In tried to count them, but gave up after the first 100. "How many?" she asked Dalho. "Ma'am, I've counted 800 so far, and they're still coming." On the Harmony's edge, Captain Dayho stood beside General Subin, watching through the observation windows as the human fleet materialized around them. The sheer scale was overwhelming. "My God," whispered Dr. Na Young. "It's like watching a metal city appear from nowhere." General Subin spoke into his communication device. "Fleet Admiral Wansik, this is General Subin. I'm aboard the Volani, vessel Harmony's Edge with Captain Dayho. The locals are impressed." "I can imagine," came Wansik's voice through the translator. "How are they taking it?" Captain Dayho found his voice. "General Subin, please tell your fleet admiral that the Volani people are grateful beyond words. But we must ask, why so many ships? Our entire civilization couldn't build this many vessels in 100 years. General Subin smiled. "Captain, let me show you something." He activated a holographic display that showed the human fleet positions. Each of these ships represents a different human world. New Tokyo sent 15 ships. The Europa colonies contributed 23. Mars brought 41. Every human settlement wanted to help save your people. Lieutenant Yerim looked up from her sensor station. "Captain, there's something else. I'm detecting massive supply convoys arriving behind the warships. Hundreds of cargo vessels. Those are carrying food, medical supplies, construction materials, and refugee support equipment," Subin explained. "We're prepared to take care of your entire population if necessary." More ships continued to arrive. Admiral Ji-hoon's battle group from the outer colonies, Captain Dongwoo's heavy assault fleet, Commander Yu Jin's logistics vessels carrying enough ammunition to fight a 10-year war. On Celestia Prime, the population had gathered in city squares and parks to watch the sky. The human ships were visible even through the atmosphere, appearing as new stars in broad daylight. "Citizens of the Confederacy," President Wu Jin announced over the planetary communication system. "The human fleet has arrived to defend our world. We are no longer alone." But not everyone was celebrating. In the government bunker, Defense Coordinator Wanbin was studying intelligence reports about human military history. "President," he said quietly, "I've been analyzing their fleet composition. This isn't a rescue force. This is an invasion fleet. They have troop transports, orbital bombardment platforms, and planetary assault ships." President Wu Jin felt his hope turn to worry. "Are you sure?" "Sir, they brought enough firepower to conquer our entire civilization 10 times over. Either they're planning to take over after they defeat the Korath or what? Or the Korath are even more dangerous than we thought." The answer came from an unexpected source. Fleet Admiral Wansik opened a communication channel to all Volani military assets. "Volani forces, this is Fleet Admiral Wansik of the Human Defense Fleet. I want to address your concerns about the size of our response." Admiral Hay-In accepted the transmission. "Fleet Admiral, this is Admiral Hay-In, Senior Volani Military Commander. We're grateful for your assistance, but we must ask about your intentions." Admiral Hay-In, "Our only intention is to completely eliminate the Korath." "Threat," Wansik replied. "Our analysis indicates that this enemy represents a danger to all intelligent life in the galaxy. We're not here just to save your world. We're here to make sure the Korath never threaten anyone again. Captain Day-Ho spoke up from the Harmony's edge. Fleet Admiral, surely 800 Korath ships don't require 3,000 human ships to defeat. There was a pause before Wansik replied. Captain Day-Ho, our intelligence suggests the Korath you can see are just the advance force. Our deep space sensors have detected much larger formations following behind them. We estimate the total Korath fleet at over 5,000 ships. The communication channels went silent as this information sank in. The Vallani had thought they were facing 800 enemy ships. The truth was much worse. 5,000 ships? Admiral Hay-In whispered. That's why we brought everything we have, Wansik continued. This isn't just a battle. It's the war that will determine whether organic life survives in this part of the galaxy. Commander Yu-Jin's voice came over the communication system. All human ships, report readiness status. One by one, the reports came in. Battle groups from dozens of human worlds all ready for combat. Fighter squadrons loaded and pilots briefed. Ground forces prepared for planetary assault. Medical ships standing by to treat casualties. Major Jin-A reported from her carrier. Fighter command ready. 3,000 pilots prepared for combat. Operations. Colonel Siak Jin checked in from his troop transport. Ground forces ready. 50,000 Marines equipped for hostile environment operations. Admiral Sang-Hoon commanded the pursuit fleet. Fast attack groups ready. We're prepared to chase down any survivors. As the final ships arrived, the human fleet reached its full strength, 2,847 warships supported by over 1,000 supply and support vessels. It was the largest military force ever assembled by any species in galactic history. Captain Day-Ho stared out at the metal forest that now filled his home system. Ships larger than space stations, bristling with weapons he couldn't understand. The peaceful Vallani had never seen anything like it. General Subin, he said quietly, your people really don't do anything halfway, do they? No, Captain, Subin replied with a grim smile. When humanity fights, we fight to win. And when we protect our friends, we make sure they stay protected. In the distance, space sensors detected the approaching Korath fleet. 800 ships that had seemed unstoppable were now facing odds of more than 3-1. But behind them, hidden in the darkness, thousands more Korath vessels were coming. The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin. The Korath swarm dropped out of hyperspace, expecting to find a defenseless world ready for consumption. What they found instead was the largest human battle fleet ever assembled, waiting in perfect formation around Celestia Prime. Commander Vextar, the Korath hive leader, studied the sensor readings from his massive command ship Devourer of Worlds. The organic vessel was 3 kilometers long and covered in chitinous armor that had never been penetrated by enemy fire. Analysis, he clicked in the Korath language to his subordinates. Unknown vessels. Configuration, military. Number, excessive, replied Navigator Zekma through the hive mind link. Threat assessment, minimal. Prey species cannot resist the swarm. Commander Vextar had destroyed 47 civilizations in his career. Peaceful species always tried to defend themselves, but none had ever succeeded. The Korath way was simple. Overwhelm with numbers, consume resources, multiply the fleet. Attack formation, he ordered. Standard consumption protocol, but this time would be different. On the bridge of the Indomitable Will, Fleet Admiral Wansik watched the Korath fleet approach. The alien ships looked like enormous insects, black angular and covered in organic-looking armor. They moved in perfect coordination, like parts of a single giant organism. "Fleet Admiral," reported Captain Kim Daebin from the sensor station. 837 enemy contacts. They're arranged in standard swarm formation, no defensive positioning. "They don't think we're a threat," Won-Sik observed. "They're treating this like every other conquest they've made." Admiral Hyunwoo's voice came through from his command ship. "Won-Sik, are you ready to show them how wrong they are?" "All human vessels, this is Fleet Admiral Won-Sik," he announced on the fleet communication channel. "Today we fight not just for the Vellani, but for every peaceful species in the galaxy. These creatures have destroyed entire civilizations. Today, their reign of terror ends." Captain Dong-Woo commanded the front battle line. His heavy cruisers were armed with the most advanced weapons humanity had developed. "Battle Group Alpha ready, Admiral. We'll hit them hard and fast." "Remember," Won-Sik continued, "we're not just trying to win. We're trying to completely eliminate this threat. No Korath ship escapes. No Korath survives to rebuild their fleet." On the Vellani defense station, Admiral Hae-In and her crew watched in amazement as the human fleet reorganized itself for battle. The coordination was flawless, thousands of ships moving as if controlled by a single mind. "Captain Daeho," she transmitted to the Harmony's edge, "are you seeing this?" "Yes, Admiral," came Daeho's voice. "It's like watching a perfectly choreographed dance, but with weapons capable of destroying planets." The first shots were fired by the Korath. Streams of bioenergy lanced out from their lead ships. The same. Weapons that had burned through Vellani defenses for months. The energy beams struck the human ships and nothing happened. Captain Dong-Woo watched his shields absorb the Korath fire without even flickering. "Is that the best they can do? All ships, return fire." The human response was immediate and devastating. Particle beams, plasma cannons, and kinetic weapons created a wall of destruction that swept through the Korath front line. In seconds, dozens of alien ships simply ceased to exist. Commander Vextar felt something he had never experienced before: confusion. The energy weapons that had destroyed every enemy they had ever faced were having no effect on these strange ships. Impossible. He clicked to his subordinates. "Prey species cannot have such defenses." "Perhaps they are not prey," suggested Navigator Zekmoth. Major Jin A led her fighter squadrons in the first wave of close combat. "Phoenix Squadron, form up on me. Let's show these bugs how humans fight." The human fighters were smaller and faster than anything the Korath had encountered. They darted between the alien ships like angry hornets, targeting weapon systems and engine clusters with surgical precision. "This is incredible," Jin-A reported as her fighters tore through a formation of Korath corvettes. "Their ships are tough but slow. They can't track our fighters at all." But the real surprise came when the Korath tried their standard tactic of overwhelming enemies with numbers. More ships kept arriving from hyperspace, the reserve forces that had crushed so many civilizations. "Admiral," reported Captain Daebin, "enemy reinforcements arriving. Count is now over 2,000 ships. Fleet." Admiral Won-Sik smiled grimly. "Perfect. Admiral Sang-Hoon, execute flanking maneuver. Don't let any of them escape." Admiral Sang-Hoon's fast attack group had been waiting in the outer system. "Copy that, Won-Sik. All ships, full attack speed. Time to end this." The battle spread across 3 star systems as the Korath fleet tried to escape the human trap. But everywhere they turned, more human ships were waiting. The peaceful Villani watched in awe as humanity demonstrated what total warfare looked like. Colonel Seok Jin's ground. Forces deployed to 3 contested worlds where Korath ships had already landed. Marines, remember your training. These things eat planets. Don't give them the chance. The fighting on the surface was brutal but brief. Human Marines in powered armor faced Korath ground troops that had never encountered serious resistance. The aliens quickly learned that humans were as dangerous on land as they were in space. Commander Yu Jin coordinated the supply lines, making sure every human ship had unlimited ammunition and fuel. "This is what we prepared for," she reported to Admiral Wansik. "We can keep fighting for months if necessary." But it wasn't necessary. The Korath, for all their numbers and biotechnology, had never faced an enemy that fought back effectively. They had grown dependent on overwhelming weak opponents. Against humans who were prepared for total war, they were helpless. Commander Vextar realized his fleet was being systematically destroyed. In 3 hours of battle, he had lost over half his ships and hadn't managed to seriously damage a single. "Human vessel, retreat," he ordered in desperation. "Full retreat to the core systems." "Negative," came Admiral Sang-hoon's voice over the communication channel. Somehow the humans were intercepting and translating Korath communications. "No retreat! No survivors!" The human pursuit was relentless. Fast attack ships hunted down fleeing Korath vessels, while the main fleet moved to destroy their larger command ships. Within 6 hours, the Korath force that had terrorized the galaxy for decades was completely annihilated. Commander Vextar's command ship was the last to fall. As human boarding parties cut through his vessel's hull, he transmitted a final message. "To the Korath home systems, do not come here. The prey has become the predator." When the battle ended, the silence in Villani space was deafening. Where once there had been over 2,000 Korath ships, now there was only debris and the victorious human fleet. Admiral Hae-in stared at her sensor displays in amazement. "Captain Dae-ho, are you reading this? Not a single Korath ship escaped. Not one." On Celestia Prime, the population celebrated in the streets. President Wu Jin addressed his people with tears in his eyes. "Citizens of the Confederacy, we are free. The Korath threat has been eliminated completely." But Fleet Admiral Wansik wasn't finished. "Admiral Sang-hoon, take your pursuit fleet and follow the Korath retreat route. We need to find their home systems and make sure this never happens again." "Understood, Admiral," Sang-hoon replied. "If there are more of them out there, we'll find them." Captain Dae-ho transmitted from the Harmony's edge. "Fleet Admiral Wansik, on behalf of all Villani people, how can we ever thank you? You've saved our entire civilization." "Captain," Wansik replied, "seeing your people safe is thanks enough. But if you really want to show gratitude, help us make sure no other peaceful species has to face what you faced." Dr. Na-young looked at the debris field that had once been the most feared fleet in the galaxy. "General Subin, your people are not what our databases said they were." General Subin nodded. "Dr. Na-young, we've learned something today, too. We've learned that some friendships are worth fighting for." The Battle of 3 Suns was over. The eyes by Korath swarm that had terrorized the galaxy for generations had been completely destroyed, and humanity had found its first alien allies. But more importantly, the peaceful Villani had learned that sometimes the most dangerous predators make the most loyal protectors. 3 weeks after the Battle of 3 Suns, Admiral Sang-hoon's pursuit fleet returned with news that changed everything. The communication came through as Fleet Admiral Wansik was coordinating reconstruction efforts around Celestia Prime. "Admiral," Sang-hoon reported from his flagship, "we found them. The Korath home systems. All 7 worlds." "What's the status?" Won-sik asked. "Complete elimination," Sang-hoon replied. "The Korath were a hive species with no backup colonies. We destroyed their shipyards, their breeding facilities, and their entire infrastructure. The threat is permanently removed." President Wu Jin, who was listening from his government center on Celestia Prime, felt a weight lift from his shoulders that he hadn't even realized he was carrying. "Admiral Sang-hoon, do you mean they're completely gone? All of them?" "Yes." "Mr. President," Sang-hoon confirmed, "the galaxy will never see another Korath ship. They consumed planets to build their fleet, but they only had one source. With that source eliminated, they cannot rebuild." The news spread through Vellani space like wildfire. For the first time in months, children played in the parks without fear. Farmers returned to their fields. Scientists went back to their research. The nightmare was truly over. But as the immediate threat ended, both species began to consider what came next. Captain Daeho stood in the main conference room of the rebuilt space station New Harmony, which had replaced the destroyed command, center above Celestia Prime. Across from him sat Ambassador Mi Young, the first official human diplomatic representative to an alien species. "Captain Daeho," Mi Young began, "my government has asked me to discuss the future relationship between our peoples. As you know, this is the first time humanity has encountered another intelligent species. Dr. Na Young, now appointed as chief." Vellani cultural advisor leaned forward. "Ambassador Mi Young, we must be honest. Our ancient databases contained warnings about humanity. We were terrified that you had come to conquer us rather than save us." Ambassador Mi Young nodded seriously. "Dr. Na Young, I understand your concerns. Humanity has a long history of warfare. We've fought each other for thousands of years before we learned to work together. But we've also learned something important. The strongest civilizations are built on cooperation, not conquest." President Wu Jin joined the discussion via holographic link from the planet's surface. "Ambassador, the Confederacy Council has authorized me to offer humanity anything you desire as payment for saving our civilization. Territory, technology, resources, name it, and it's yours." Ambassador Mi Young smiled. "Mr. President, I appreciate the offer, but humanity doesn't want payment. We want something much more valuable." "What's that?" Captain Daeho asked. "Friendship," Mi Young replied simply. "You see, humanity has been alone in the galaxy for our entire history. We've explored hundreds of star systems and found planets and resources, but never other people to share them with. Your call for help gave us something we didn't even know we were missing." Dr. Na Young looked confused. "But surely you want some benefit from this alliance? Access to our technology? Colonization rights?" "Actually," Ambassador Mi Young said, activating a holographic display, "we'd like to propose something different, a cultural and scientific exchange program." The display showed plans for joint research stations, shared universities, and cultural centers. Dr. Young-soo, our leading anthropologist, has developed a program where humans and Vellani can learn from each other. Your people have achieved things in art and peaceful technology that we never imagined. We'd like to learn from you." Captain Daeho studied the proposals with amazement. "You want to learn from us? But you just demonstrated military technology that's centuries ahead of anything we have." "Captain," Mi Young explained, "humanity is very good at war. We've had lots of practice, but you're good at peace. In 800 years, the Vellani built a civilization based on cooperation, scientific advancement, and artistic achievement. Do you have any idea how impressive that is to us? President Wu Jin spoke from the planet. Ambassador, are you saying that humanity wants to be more like us? In many ways, yes, Mi Young replied. We want to learn how to build a society that creates instead of destroys, how to explore the universe as scientists rather than conquerors, how to make peace instead of war. Over the following months, the first human-Vellani cultural exchange program began to take shape. Dr. Young Soo arrived, with a team of human anthropologists, linguists, and artists to study Vellani society. This is incredible, Dr. Young Soo reported after his first week on Celestia Prime. They've developed forms of music and visual art that use mathematical principles we've never considered, and their approach to scientific research is completely collaborative. No competition, no secrets, just shared knowledge. Meanwhile, Vellani scientists were equally amazed by human technology and determination. Dr. Na Young spent time aboard Fleet Admiral Wan 6 flagship studying human military organization. It's not just the weapons, she reported to President Wu Jin. It's the coordination. Thousands of ships from hundreds of different worlds all working together perfectly. They've solved problems of interstellar cooperation that we never even considered. The exchange wasn't limited to governments and scientists. Human and Vellani civilians began visiting each other's worlds through carefully arranged cultural programs. Captain Kyung Min, whose scout ships had made first contact, found himself serving as a tour guide for Vellani visitors to human space. The thing that amazes them most, he reported to Admiral Hyun-woo, isn't our military power. It's our diversity. We have 400 human worlds, and each one developed its own culture and specialties. They can't believe how different we all are while still working together. But perhaps the most important development came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Ye Rim, the communications officer who had first received humanity's response, proposed a joint defense treaty. Think about it, she explained to Captain Daeho. Humanity has the most powerful military in the galaxy, but they've been exploring alone. We have extensive sensor networks and peaceful diplomatic contacts with dozens of species. Together, we could prevent another Korath situation from ever developing. The idea was brilliant in its simplicity. The Vellani would use their diplomatic skills and sensor networks to identify threats early. Humanity would provide the military response if peaceful solutions failed. President Wu Jin presented the proposal to the Confederacy Council. Fellow council members, we have the opportunity to create the first true interstellar alliance in galactic history. The Vellani Human Mutual Defense Pact could protect not just our two species, but every peaceful civilization in the galaxy. The proposal was approved unanimously. On the human side, the response was equally enthusiastic. Admiral Hyun-woo presented the treaty to Earth's government with full military backing. Mr. President, he reported, this alliance gives humanity something we've never had before, a purpose beyond our own survival. We can be protectors instead of just warriors. The signing ceremony took place on the rebuilt space station above Celestia Prime. President Wu Jin and Earth's president stood together as the treaty was formalized. Today, President Wu Jin announced, two species that began as strangers become partners in peace. The Vellani-Human Alliance will stand as proof that cooperation is stronger than conquest. Earth's president added, this alliance represents humanity's commitment to using our strength to protect those who cannot protect themselves. We go forward together. As the ceremony concluded, Captain Daeho stood with General Subin, watching through the observation windows as human and Vellani Ships flew in formation together. "General," Deho said, "when I sent that message asking for help, I never imagined it would lead to this." "Captain," Subin replied with a smile, "sometimes the best things happen by accident. Your mistake in contacting us has become the foundation for something bigger than either of our species could achieve alone." Dr. Na Young joined them at the window. "The ancient database was wrong about humanity," she observed. "You're not apex predators, you're apex protectors." "Maybe we're both," Subin said thoughtfully. "Predators to those who threaten peace, protectors to those who cherish it." In the months that followed, other species began to take notice of the human-Volani alliance. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. A military powerhouse and a peaceful civilization working together for mutual benefit. Soon, requests for membership began arriving from species across the galaxy. The alliance grew from 2 members to 5, then 10, then 20. Each new member brought their own strengths and knowledge. The mistake that Captain Deho had made in a moment of desperation had become the foundation for the first truly galactic civilization based on cooperation instead of conquest. And somewhere in space, new friendships were being forged between species that had once been strangers, united by the simple belief that, together, they could build something better than any of them could achieve alone. The age of isolation was over. The age of alliance had begun. 3 weeks after the Battle of Three Suns, Admiral Sang-hoon's pursuit fleet returned with news that changed everything. The communication came through as Fleet Admiral Won-sik was coordinating reconstruction efforts around Celestia Prime. "Admiral," Sang-hoon reported from his flagship, "we found them. The Korath home systems, all 7 worlds." "What's the status?" Won-sik asked. "Complete elimination," Sang-hoon replied. "The Korath were a hive species with no backup colonies. We destroyed their shipyards, their breeding facilities, and their entire infrastructure. The threat is permanently removed." President Wu Jin, who was listening from his government center on Celestia Prime, felt a weight lift from his shoulders that he hadn't even realized he was carrying. "Admiral Sang-hoon, do you mean they're completely gone? All of them?" "Yes." "Mr. President," Sang-hoon confirmed, "the galaxy will never see another Korath ship. They consumed planets to build their fleet, but they only had one source. With that source eliminated, they cannot rebuild." The news spread through Volani space like wildfire. For the first time in months, children played in the parks without fear. Farmers returned to their fields. Scientists went back to their research. The nightmare was truly over. But as the immediate threat ended, both species began to consider what came next. Captain Deho stood in the main conference room of the rebuilt space station New Harmony, which had replaced the destroyed command center above Celestia Prime. Across from him sat Ambassador Mi Young, the first official human diplomatic representative to an alien species. "Captain Deho," Mi Young began, "my government has asked me to discuss the future relationship between our peoples. As you know, this is the first time humanity has encountered another intelligent species. Dr. Na Young, now appointed as Chief Volani Cultural Advisor, leaned forward. "Ambassador Mi Young, we must be honest. Our ancient databases contained warnings about humanity. We were terrified that you had come to conquer us rather than save us." Ambassador Mi Young nodded seriously. "Dr. Na Young, I understand your concerns. Humanity has a long history of warfare. We fought each other for thousands of years before we learned to work together. But we've also learned something important. The strongest civilizations are built on cooperation, not conquest. President Wu Jin joined the discussion via holographic link from the planet's surface. Ambassador, the Confederacy Council has authorized me to offer humanity anything you desire as payment for saving our civilization. Territory, technology, resources, name it, and it's yours. Ambassador Mi Young smiled. Mr. President, I appreciate the offer, but humanity doesn't want payment. We want something much more valuable. What's that? Captain Deho asked. Friendship, Mi Young replied simply. You see, humanity has been alone in the galaxy for our entire history. We've explored hundreds of star systems and found planets and resources, but never other people to share them with. Your call for help gave us something we didn't even know we were missing. Dr. Na Young looked confused. But surely you want some benefit from this alliance, access to our technology, colonization rights? Actually, Ambassador, Mi Young said, activating a holographic display, we'd like to propose something different, a cultural and scientific exchange program. The display showed plans for joint research stations, shared universities, and cultural centers. Dr. Young-Soo, our leading anthropologist, has developed a program where humans and Vellani can learn from each other. Your people have achieved things in art and peaceful technology that we never imagined. We'd like to learn from you. Captain Deho studied the proposals with amazement. You want to learn from us? But you just demonstrated military technology that's centuries ahead of anything we have. Captain, Mi Young explained, humanity is very good at war. We've had lots of practice, but you're good at peace. In 800 years, the Vellani built a civilization based on cooperation, scientific advancement, and artistic achievement. Do you have any idea how impressive that is to us? President Wu Jin spoke from the planet. Ambassador, are you saying that humanity wants to be more like us? In many ways, yes, Mi Young replied. We want to learn how to build a society that creates instead of destroys, how to explore the universe as scientists rather than conquerors, how to make peace instead of war. Over the following months, the first human-Vellani cultural exchange program began to take shape. Dr. Young-Soo arrived, with a team of human anthropologists, linguists, and artists to study Vellani society. This is incredible, Dr. Young-Soo reported after his first week on Celestia Prime. They've developed forms of music and visual art that use mathematical principles we've never considered, and their approach to scientific research is completely collaborative. No competition, no secrets, just shared knowledge. Meanwhile, Vellani scientists were equally amazed by human technology and determination. Dr. Na Young spent time aboard Fleet Admiral Wansik's flagship, studying human military organization. It's not just the weapons, she reported to President Wu Jin. It's the coordination. Thousands of ships from hundreds of different worlds, all working together perfectly. They've solved problems of interstellar cooperation that we never even considered. The exchange wasn't limited to governments and scientists. Human and Vellani civilians began visiting each other's worlds through carefully arranged cultural programs. Captain Kyung-min, whose scout ships had made first contact, found himself serving as a tour guide for Vellani visitors to human space. The thing that amazes them most, he reported to Admiral Hyun-woo, isn't our military power. It's our diversity. We have 400 human worlds, and each one developed its own culture and specialties. They can't believe how different we all are while still working together. But perhaps the most important development came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Ye Rim, the communications officer who had first received humanity's response, proposed a joint defense treaty. Think about it, she explained to Captain Deho. Humanity has the most powerful military in the galaxy, but they've been exploring alone. We have extensive sensor networks and peaceful diplomatic contacts with dozens of species. Together, we could prevent another Korath situation from ever developing. The idea was brilliant in its simplicity. The Vallani would use their diplomatic skills and sensor networks to identify threats early. Humanity would provide the military response if peaceful solutions failed. President Wu Jin presented the proposal to the Confederacy Council. Fellow council members, we have the opportunity to create the first true interstellar alliance in galactic history. The Vallani-Human Mutual Defense Pact could protect not just our two species, but every peaceful civilization in the galaxy. The proposal was approved unanimously. On the human side, the response was equally enthusiastic. Admiral Hyun Woo presented the treaty to Earth's government with full military backing. "Mr. President," he reported, "this alliance gives humanity something we've never had before, a purpose beyond our own survival. We can be protectors instead of just warriors." The signing ceremony took place on the rebuilt space station above, Celestia Prime. President Wu Jin and Earth's president stood together as the treaty was formalized. "Today," President Wu Jin announced, "two species that began as strangers become partners in peace. The Vallani-Human Alliance will stand as proof that cooperation is stronger than conquest." Earth's president added, "This alliance represents humanity's commitment to using our strength to protect those who cannot protect themselves. We go forward together." As the ceremony concluded, Captain Dae-ho stood with General Subin, watching through the observation windows as human and Vallani ships flew in formation together. "General," Dae-ho said, "when I sent that message asking for help, I never imagined it would lead to this." "Captain," Subin replied with a smile, "sometimes the best things happen by accident. Your mistake in contacting us has become the foundation for something bigger than either of our species could achieve alone." Dr. Na Young joined them at the window. "The ancient database was wrong about humanity," she observed. "You're not apex predators, you're apex protectors." "Maybe we're both," Subin said thoughtfully. "Predators to those who threaten peace, protectors to those who cherish it." In the months that followed, other species began to take notice of the Human-Vallani alliance. The galaxy had never seen anything like it, a military powerhouse and a peaceful civilization working together for mutual benefit. Soon, requests for membership began arriving from species across the galaxy. The alliance grew from 2 members to 5, then 10, then 20. Each new member brought their own strengths and knowledge. The mistake that Captain Dae-ho had made in a moment of desperation had become the foundation for the first truly galactic civilization based on cooperation instead of conquest. And somewhere in space, new friendships were being forged between species that had once been strangers, united by the simple belief that together they could build something better than any of them could achieve alone. The age of isolation was over. The age of alliance had begun.